Thursday, Chapter 10. The Thursday celebrations were a truly spectacular occasion. The hairy hooligans, fierce rituals, the meatheads from the nearby Meathead Island sailed across the inner ocean to the Isle of Burke for this great gathering. The visitors set up camp in the Black Heart Bay, which turned overnight from an empty desert into an echoing seagull, into a bustling village of tents made out of sails too patched to be used at sea anymore. By the next morning, the long beach was packed with stalls and jugglers and fortune tellers. There was a happy confusion of Vikings, spotting old friends and practicing their swordplay and yelling at the children to stop hitting each other right now for Thor's sake. I really mean it this time, or else. Vast Viking men sat on uncomfortable rocks, gorfing loudly like gigantic sea lions in a holiday mood. Impressively large Viking women huddled in groups, cackling like seagulls and drowning whole. Impressively large Viking women huddled in groups, cackling like seagulls and downing whole mugs of tea in one swallow. Desperate old wrinkly groomly forecast of terrible storms and typhoons. It was a gloriously hot June day. Despite old Wrinkly's gloomy forecast of terrible storms and typhoons, it was a gloriously hot June day, with not a hint of a cloud in the offing. The young hero's final initiation test would start at 2 p.m. that afternoon, so Hiccup spent the morning listening round-eyed to storytellers telling tall tales of dirty Danes and private princesses. He was sick with nerves, so he found it difficult to enjoy the occasion as much as he had in previous years. Even Gobber, throwing up during the "How many gulls' eggs can you eat in 1 minute?" competition, failed to raise more than a smile on his pale, tense face. Hiccup's family had a picnic lunch overlooking the axe fighting display. Hiccup could not eat a thing, and nor, unusually, could Toothless, who was in a difficult mood and turned his nose up at the tuna sandwiches Valhallaremand offered. "Good to keep your dragon's appetite sharp for the game," boomed Stoic the Vast, who was in an excellent mood. He had won a bet on Goggle Toad in the ugliest baby contest and was looking forward to seeing his son's brilliant display during the initiation test. As the day wore on, a hot wind suddenly started blowing out of nowhere. It was still sweltering, but ominous grey clouds were gathering on the horizon. There was an odd rumble of thunder in the air. Maybe old Wrinkly had been right, thought Hiccup, as he gazed upward, and Thor is going to put on his traditional appearance on the Thursday celebrations. Will all youths hoping to be initiated into the tribe this year please make their way to the ground at the left of the beach? Hiccup gulped, nudged Toothless, and stood up. This was it. Hiccup was one of the last to get to the ground, which was a large area of wet sand just to the edge of the sea. The boys from his own tribe were already assembled, their dragons hovering a couple of feet above them. Everybody was chattering excitedly, and even Snotlouse was looking nervous. The Meathead boys and their dragons seemed to be gigantic, rough-looking creatures, far tougher than the hooligans. One in particular was a great hulking brute of a boy who looked 15 at least. Hiccup presumed he was Thuggery, Chief Morgadon the Meathead's son, because the silver-grey monstrous nightmare about 3 feet tall was perched on one of his shoulders. It was looking at Fireworm like a Rottweiler thinking evil thoughts. Fireworm acted unconcerned. An aristocrat never growls, purred Fireworm sweetly. You must be one of those Mongol nightmares, we pure green bloods descended from the great Ripclaw himself, and would never dream of doing anything so common. The silver nightmare's growling increased in volume. The crowd was assembled at the touchline. Hiccup tried not to notice Stoic the Vast blasting his way to the front with great cries of "Out of the way! I'm the chief! 10 to 1 my son catches more fish than your son in this test," boomed Stoic, giving his old enemy Mogadon the Meathead a good prod in the stomach. Mogadon and Meathead narrowed his eyes and wondered whether to hit back. Maybe after the test. "And which," asked Mogadon the Meathead, "is your son? Is he the tall one who looks like a pig with a skeleton tattooed and monstrous? Is he the tall one who looks like a pig with skeleton tattoos and the red monstrous nightmare?" "Nope," said Stoic happily. "That's my brother's baggy-bum son. My son is the skinny one over there with the toothless daydream." Mogadon Meathead broke into a big smile. He slapped Stoic on the back and yelled, "I take your bet and double it!" "Done!" shouted Stoic, and the 2 great chieftains shook hands and bumped bellies on the bet. Gobber the Belch was in charge of the final stage of the initiation test. He was still looking a bit green from his unpleasant experience in the "How many gulls' eggs can you eat in 1 minute" competition. This had not improved his temper. "All right, you horrible lot," yelled Gobber. "This is where we find out if you are the stuff that heroes are made of. You will either walk out of this arena full members of the noble tribe